Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Friday, the greatest day of the work week. Why? Because the work week is almost over. And I raid on Saturday nights and Sunday nights. That's what we're going to talk about today. Raiding. More specifically, raid leading. Now, since it's Friday, what I'm going to try to do on Fridays is do like a viewer request thing. And last night, somebody said, hey, you should make a video on raid leading. Because I was talking about raid leading. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, first thing you should know about raid leading. Well, among the first things is what I'm showing you right now. Open Raid. Open Raid is a fantastic resource for raiding in general, even if you're not raid leading. Because as long as it's not the current content, you can pug into any old content cross-server. Just using your battle tag, not even your full real ID. Like, you don't want your email and name getting out there and all that. Fine, use your battle tag, cross-server. I did a HOF one yesterday that didn't turn out too well, but it worked. It filled people within 5 minutes. And one of the roles we needed to fill was a tank, so it was amazing how fast it fills. If you want to do Terrace, you want to do Mogashan, heroic modes of those, pug people cross-server, you can get people high gear, high level, high experience really fast. You can also do some old stuff if you want to do some, transmog, or if you want to get achievements, or if you want to do challenge modes, and there's even some people recruiting for RBGs I see sometimes. I'll show you right there. Real quick. All you do is up here you create your account. This is my account name. I made it the same as my Death Knight character name. Figured that's easiest. But for some reason it keeps showing my Paladin as opposed to my Death Knight. But what I simply do is I just hit browse with filters on this page. And I can see everything that's going on. It's coming up. What time it is. It automatically converts everything to your time zone. Because once you put in your time zone, it tells you how many people signed up out of how many. So if you see 6 out of 5, you know it's overfilled. Maybe not good to sign up. Unless you click on it, you can click on it, look at it, and see, oh hey, there's 5 DPS and 1 healer signed up. I'm a tank. I'm definitely in. Sign up and get in. But some of these other things, 9 out of 40 for Zul. Wait a minute. Zul'Gurub, it's looking at for 40 people. It still thinks it's the 40-man Zul'Gurub. No, it is the 5-man one, but that's a little confusion on Open Raid's part. Most of it works better than that. Anyway, moving on to raid leading. It seems to me that there are predominantly 2 styles of raid leading. Although, there is kind of a third one that's less popular. I don't mean less popular as in less people like it, I just mean it's less used. Now, the most popular and kind of stereotypical raid leader is the one you would see in, for example, the Onyxia wipe animation, that famous video on YouTube. What I refer to as angry military style, where the raid leader shouts at you and expects you to do exactly what they say when you say it, no matter what. They will do it. It is like the military. It is very strict, it is very controlled, it is very shouty and angry. I'm not a fan of that one. Some people are. It is an efficient method and it will work. But the downsides to that method are, some people who are not as hardcore or don't like it, they could get some hurt feelings. You could get people who don't want to raid with you anymore. You can get people who just don't want to raid all of a sudden. Pugs are less likely to like it. And it could make your voice hoarse, to be honest. Then there's the method I personally use, and the one I kind of endorse, which is more kind of like the group leader style. I can't find a better name for it. Where if something goes, where as the raid leader, you're never shouting, you're never angry, you're never placing blame on just one person. If something goes wrong, it's okay, guys. We need to figure out what we did wrong, and we need to fix it. If one person forgets to interrupt themselves on Amber Shaper and blows up and wipes the group, you're going to say, okay guys, we need to work on fixing, not, blowing up, and we need to work on our interrupts, and everything is we. You're never blaming one person. And because the people who didn't do it, they know they didn't do it. They know they have it down. But the person who did do it is listening, but doesn't feel singled out. Like everybody hates them. And you should be like, and beyond that, when I feel like somebody's done something wrong and I'm doing the whole we thing, I also like to incorporate the solution. As in, now, like I'll say something like this. For the same fight, Amber Shaper, I'll say, now what I like to do for this fight is I like to hit my interrupt right when the bar comes up. I don't wait for anything. And I just hit it. I have my finger over that hotkey right away. Gives him advice on how to do it correctly. And if you don't know how to do it correctly, maybe they're not actually doing something wrong, you just don't understand what they're doing. But if you know they're doing something wrong, you don't know how to explain how to do it correctly, ask around in the other raid. Let the other raiders chime in. If you don't know something as a raid leader, the military method says, keep bringing methods out of your head and just throw them at the raid. Just make stuff up and see if it works. The group leader method is ask the group. Maybe somebody else has done it already. Or maybe somebody else has seen a video and understands what you're supposed to do. Maybe you missed something in the video that you've watched. Because you do need to watch the videos if you plan to raid lead at all. Before you even step foot in that raid. Maybe somebody else has seen something you don't know. Let the group communicate with each other. Let people give each other advice. Do maintain that you're the raid leader, and if things do get out of control, try to rein it in. But don't rein it in by yelling and screaming and throwing a tantrum. Rein it in by going, okay guys, so from what I understand, this, and sum everything up and go, okay, so the method we're going to use now is this. And then explain it. And be like, does that sound good to everyone? Does that sound like it'll work? And then that way, if anybody else comes up with any issues with it, like, yeah, you forgot that what happens if a healer gets shaped. Right. So, there's that. And then there's kind of the third method, where it's even further on the other end of the spectrum, from military man, to group leader, to loose group of 10 people just kind of doing stuff without a leader. I mean, it's hard to do that unless you're just doing it on group loot, which is uncommon to do it on group loot, but some people do. So, what that group method is, there's no definite raid leader. It's just people are like, hey, do we know the fight? And if someone's like, oh, I don't know the fight, then somebody explains it to them. And they go, oh, okay, and you just kind of go and do it. And everybody knows what they're supposed to do and does it anyway. This is generally useful on old content, not newer content. But it still happens. There's like no definite raid leader with master loot going on. You're just kind of going for it. And it works as long as everybody knows what they're doing. But the instant a couple of people, like more than one person, has no idea what's going on, somebody's got to step up and be a raid leader and lead it. Because if it's just going to fail over and over if that doesn't happen. Now, when you're talking about loot is a big thing raid leaders have to worry about. The method I use and the method that a lot of people are going to use is this. If a loot drops, you get one main spec roll for that night, unless nobody else also needs it main spec, or the only other person who also needs it main spec has already had their roll as well. Like if you're a warrior tank and then the other tank is a pally tank, you're basically going to be using just about the same gear. Very similar. Now, if an item drops and the warrior tank won it, and then another plate tank drops piece that the warrior could use, and the pally could also use, it goes to the paladin, no roll necessary. But if a third piece drops, both for a plate tank piece that's clearly tanking, those two guys can now roll again on it. Tier is exempted from this rule. That is separate. Now, off spec, you can have as many as you want. And if you are the warrior tank, and the other tank is not a pally tank, it's a monk or a druid, someone who doesn't even use plate, you're basically handed all of the plate tank gear. The only thing you need to worry about fighting over is trinkets. Because those are tank trinkets are cross, armor class. That's it. Other than that, you get everything, which is really nice to have. I mean, in my raid group, there's me, Blood Death Knight tank, and a Pally tank. They're going to fight over a little bit, but he gets pretty much the shield given to him. Not that he has a shield. You still got a blue shield. And, oh, another thing you need to do as raid leader, that reminds me, is try to do little favors to help gear up your team. Like, I'm not a raid leader, but in, for my Throne of Thunder group. But in my Throne of Thunder group, our tank does not have a good shield. He still has a 471 upgraded heroic shield. That's bad. Like, but the thing is that shields are so rare to drop. There's only like one that drops in 5.1 content, and that's out of Mogushan. All the other ones will drop out of TOT and TOT LFR. And Mogushan LFR, but we're not counting that. I said Mogushan. So, what I did during the week is I got into a pug group, and it was clear that it was going to fall apart at Elegon, and somebody had to AFK right before Spirit Kings. Spirit Kings is the one that drops the shield. And I kind of pushed for calling it, because I knew that we could down Spirit Kings, a couple people might get some pieces, but we would just not get past Elegon. And so I pushed for calling it, and then a lot of other people wanted to call it as well, because a lot of other people saw that it was going to fail, as I did. But I kept that lockout at Spirit Kings, so I could not reopen it, it's for the same week, but use that lockout to help get my tank that one boss kill in Mogushan to see if he can get that shield. I'm being nice and considerate. Now, I believe, going to be starting to raid lead on Thursday nights. I think Thursday. Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Maybe Monday. Probably Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Running through Terrace with some of my friends from real life who, some of them aren't as good raiders, but some of them are. But the trouble is they all want to raid together, and they can't find people to join their group because they're not as, like, socially inept in World of Warcraft with other people. They're just sticking to each other, kind of, like their own little clique, so trying to get more people and trying to help lead that. See if I can help them out. Plus, I do want to do Terrace every week, because I need it for my off-spec. I need my 496 Shinka, because dual-wield Frost right now is just not doing it for me. Although I love it in the past. Anyways, that's the video for today. Hope it was informative. And remember, if you want to raid lead, pick your style of raid lead. Watch videos, know the fights. The best way to know the fights might even be to go in there and pug it, not as raid lead yourself and let someone else lead it so you can see the fights once or twice. And then, open raid. Use that to fill your raid if you can't fill it through trade and on your server. Anyway, that about wraps it up. Peace, love, and chicken.